Hey everyone, Ewan from WhatCulture Gaming here, and it should come as no surprise to any of you that I am really excited for Batman Gotham Knights for a whole host of reasons. You know, the fact that I love Batman as a comic book character, I love the Batman Arkham games, and in particular, Batman Arkham Origins, which is obviously done by Warner Bros. Montreal, and they have been so quiet for so long now, and it's just great to see them back doing what they do best, and that is making a really good Batman video game. But there is also something else in particular that really draws me to Gotham Knights, and it's the fact that Batman himself is dead. Now, I know he may come back, but this got me thinking anyway. My favourite ever period of Batman comics is actually Batman Reborn, which was a line-wide kind of event that took place over the course of all of DC's Batman titles after Bruce Wayne got zapped all the way to the Stone Age, quite literally, by dear old Darkseid during the events of Final Crisis. It was just an amazingly creative time for the Batman comics, and it seems to be where Gotham Knights is taking the bulk of its inspiration from. The event itself saw Dick Grayson become the new Batman, which might strike you as a bit odd given that Dick's entire thing, you know, after he left the role of Robin was to get away from Batman's shadow, but the event does a really good job of showing how Dick could actually make the Batman role his own, and it's one of the most fascinating dynamics in the entire thing, coupled together with the fact that the new Robin is Damian Wayne, who definitely does not want to be Robin, and you have that kind of fun inversion where instead of the, you know, the dark, somber Dark Knight and, you know, the happy-go-lucky Boy Wonder, you kind of have that basically inverted. You have a slightly more outgoing and, you know, humorous Batman, and then the death ninja child who is desperate to actually become Batman at some point in the future. Also, side note, I did an editorial for WhatCulture Comics all about this run called The Best Batman Period is One You'd Never Expect, so go watch it. The link might be here, or it might be in the little description box down below. I don't know. You should go check out WhatCulture Comics anyway, because we do all sorts of comicsy stuff, which is kind of self-explanatory, but it's a great time all the same. But yeah, I know, what does this have to do with Gotham Knights, Ewan? Well, a whole lot, because as with all comic book adaptations, the source material can provide some valuable insights into how new works will look to interpret certain characters and storylines. And seeing as how Gotham Knights is taking a ton of inspiration from different comics, even signposting them via Twitter, taking a look at them may yet clue us in on how the story may develop. So that's right, it's time to set atomic batteries to power and turbines to speed, and look at the comics that may inform Gotham Knights' story, and in particular, how the Bat family responded to Bruce Wayne's death. So, talking about comics that inspired Gotham Knights, I think it makes sense to get the obvious one out of the way, and that is, of course, the Court of Owls. As we all know, the Court of Owls will play a major role in Gotham Knights and may or may not be slightly involved in Bruce Wayne's disappearance, depending on who you listen to on the internet. During the Court of Owls comic line, which was written by Scott Snyder with art by Greg Capullo, and as a side, if you really like the Court of Owls, you should go check out their Dark Knights Metal series because it is wild as hell but also brilliant. The court themselves actually kidnapped and mentally tortured Bruce in the hopes of mentally breaking him. But Ewan, I hear you ask, who are the Court of Owls? Well, they're actually a secret society of evildoers who have kind of been pulling the strings behind Gotham's scenes for literal centuries, and in terms of recent additions to Batman's lore, the Court are actually one of the most fascinating and compelling additions, so it's pretty cool to see them in this game, and yeah, they're a huge deal. And while it is important to note that Bruce Wayne doesn't actually die in this story, when he goes missing, and he does go missing for a while, the Bat family really don't know how to react. Everyone sort of felt helpless and desperately clung to the Bat signal in the hope that Bruce would see it and go, "Oh yes, my children, I will return," but that doesn't really happen. Now, obviously Batman does return, but if you'll permit me to shake the old magic 8-ball for Gotham Knights, I think it would probably read outlook not so good for Bruce's fortunes. At least if we're to take Montreal at their word, and come on, look at them. Since when has a Warner brother ever been dishonest? Comics-wise, the Bat family each had their own battles against the onslaught of court assassins known as Talons. Batgirl, Red Hood, and Nightwing all had to face some of the deadliest warriors in history, and each only narrowly escaped with their lives, so expect a similar challenge in Gotham Knights, fingers crossed. The most troubling aspect of all of this, which is hopefully something we'll see in-game as well, is that Dick Grayson is kinda, sorta a descendant of the Assassins, with his childhood home, Haley's Circus, acting as a sort of breeding ground for new recruits. His prophesized assassin name, the Grey Son. Like Dick Grayson, but he's the Grey Son. The Grey Son. I mean, okay, the name wasn't good, but the outfit was really cool, and yeah, I would really like to see that in the game, and also this revelation can provide some suitable dramatic tension in Gotham Knights. It's a really cool, interesting thing that could provide tension in a context where Batman isn't alive, but on paper, when you're trying to come up with a new name for Dick Grayson and it is literally the Grey Son, it's not too great, but that's fine, it doesn't matter. Now, if we're going to talk about Batman comics where Bruce Wayne goes AWOL and the Bat family are just kind of left there going blur, it would be hugely irresponsible to ignore Knightfall, the most 90s of 90s Bat comics where Bruce was replaced by a ponytailed wearing cult assassin with spikes on his spikes and blades on his blades, and oh, it's also kind of why I love it. Unlike The Court of Owls, where Batman had literally gone missing, Knightfall explored what would happen if Bruce was physically unable to continue as a hero after the whole getting his spine broken in half like a Ritz cracker thing. The story revolved around Bane returning to Gotham to wreak havoc against the Dark Knight. Batman's spine again gets Ritz-crackered in half, and not wanting to burden Nightwing with the mantle, Bruce decides to get Jean-Paul Valley, a guy he is literally known for like 5 seconds, to be the new Batman. The internship goes well for about 5 minutes until Azrael decides to use lethal force. This all-new, more murdery Batman is swiftly defeated by a recovered Bruce Wayne, who then ironically hands the mantle over to Nightwing again in the Prodigal storyline. It doesn't stick, but still, it goes some way in explaining why no Bat family member may want to adopt the Cowl in Gotham Knights, with so many keen to step out of Batman's shadows, and the others well aware of the burden the mantle actually brings. Fast forwarding another decade now to the aftermath of Final Crisis and the event that precipitated Batman Reborn, Battle for the Cowl. With the Caped Crusader gone, thanks to his unfortunate brush with Darkseid, Gotham was plunged into an epic power struggle between the various gangs, with war breaking out between Two-Face and the Penguin. Each of the villains took advantage of Batman's disappearance, with Black Mask staging a massive Arkham breakout. Expect the villains to be similarly opportunistic in Gotham Knights, with both Bats and Commissioner Gordon both gone. In a similar fashion to what we saw in the Gotham Knights trailer, actually, we find out that Bruce had left personal messages to each of his family members, as Dick once again remains slightly reluctant to take on the role of Batman. But one person who has no qualms with taking on the role of the Dark Knight and placing their own stamp on the cape and cowl is Jason Todd, who goes on a murderous rampage as a gun-toting Batman with the edgiest edgelord Batman suit to ever grace comics since the 1990s, which again, Knightfall, Azrael. Which is edgier? Let me know in the comments below. As Bats or Jason Todd Bats? We need to know. It's the fight of the century. Now, it should be said that Jason was on less than good terms with the Bat family at this point in time, and not at all like the later incarnation that looks to be inspiring Gotham Knights' incarnation of the character. So, with Dick Grayson doing his usual Batman brooding, Tim Drake decides to don the classic blue Batsuit and spread a little bit of cheer, which is lovingly intentioned and definitely doesn't go bad at all. As he's spreading that famous Batman cheer, he ends up in a one-on-one against a furious Jason Todd. It's kind of like that pointing Spider-Man meme, only one of the Spider-Man has guns and shoots the other Spider-Man. To make matters worse, Tim manages to beat Jason several times with a crowbar, which any Red Hood fan will tell you is a big, big no-no. And so the fight ends with Tim being impaled in the chest with a batarang and dragged into Jason's twisted take on the Batcave. The comic ends with Dick accepting his fate as Gotham's new Dark Knight and defeating Jason, and Damian saves Tim from a collapsing cave, kind of coming full circle on that time in Batman and Son, where Damian had sort of tried to kill Tim. All the Robins are trying to kill Tim, except Dick, because he's chill. But everyone else, they kind of have it in for him. Battle for the Cowl actually gives us some unique insights into the mindsets of each Robin and how they emotionally process Batman's death. Dick remains stubborn in his refusal to kind of basically step into Batman's shadow and is still keen to find his own path. Tim is afraid to let the past die, and we see that kind of inform his journey in Batman Reborn as Red Robin, and Jason just lashes out in a fit of rage and bullets. Will we see a similar interpretation in Gotham Knights? Well, potentially, although I would stress that we won't be seeing an evil Jason Todd anytime soon. Just expect there to be some tension between Red Hood and the rest of the Bat family, although when is there ever not tension between Red Hood and the rest of the Bat family? It's kind of par for the course in every Bat comic, but still, that's kind of where this leads us right now. Batman Reborn comes next, and saw Dick and Damian embrace the roles of Batman and Robin respectively. It's an interesting premise again because neither character really wants to assume either mantle to begin with, and there's a lot to be said about having a more comedic Batman and a more steely Robin. Tim Drake again becomes Red Robin and searches desperately for a way to bring Bruce Wayne back from the dead because he's the only one convinced that he didn't actually die, while Barbara continues in her role as Oracle, briefly mentoring Stephanie Brown, who becomes the new Batgirl, and you may remember Stephanie as being the spoiler and that one time as Robin, although that didn't end well, but she's a really cool Batgirl, and again, would be interesting to see if maybe we'll see her pop up in Gotham Knights as the spoiler. For Batman Reborn at least, the Bat family is comprised of so many disparate elements and each character processes Batman's passing in different ways, whereas in Gotham Knights they appear to have formed a united front in protecting Gotham first and foremost. But don't let that trick you into thinking each character won't be processing Batman's death in ways unique to them. Every time Bats has passed or disappeared, those left behind often have to deal with an identity crisis of their own. Gotham Knights has all these characters come together to try and heal a broken Gotham, but you'd expect Batman to be on their minds from start to end, whether that's thinking of alternate scenarios where he survives, or just coming to terms with the fact he really is gone. Which could make things even more painful if he is truly dead, as this may be the first time both the characters and the audience have to reconcile that Batman is gone in a video game. Gotham Knights presents a unique opportunity for DC in that sense, and that there may genuinely be no way of bringing back the Bat, which honestly, I think might be the case. Whichever direction the developers go in, it will no doubt involve some intense character-driven moments for the young heroes, as players explore the complicated yet exciting premise of playing as either of the four Gotham Knights. Plus, it gives me a good excuse to dive back into all these comics, so that's neat too. And yeah, that was our little look back at how the Bat family responded to Batman's death in the comics and how that may relate to Gotham Knights. Let me know your own Gotham Knights theories down in the comments below and whether or not you think Batman is returning. And also, please be sure to drop us a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this in the future. Remember, you can find more of this sort of thing at WhatCulture.com/gaming and more of me on Twitter at YouInRuinsThings. That's all for now though. Have a great day, keep enjoying games, maybe pick up a comic if you've never done before, and I'll see you next time. Bye!